This is my model of DNA electrophoresis that I built. I wanted to use some easily accessed equipment and chemicals, and so I researched electrophoresis. The first thing I had to do before anything was I had to extract DNA from the kiwi fruit and prepare it. I then needed to get some agar gels and make some wells with a hand-built comb so I could add the DNA. I then had to make the electrodes out of stainless steel wire so I could carry the electricity through the buffer and the gel. My results weren't quite as impressive as a formal lab result, because I didn't have access to a restriction enzyme that would break down the DNA into sections. This meant that I couldn't get as many bands forming, but I still got a few bands to form that would show electrophoresis actually works. I had to stain the DNA to make it visible, so I added methylene blue to the DNA to form a blue substance with the DNA and the dye in. Putting the DNA into the wells was a task, but I managed to add the glycerin to the mixture to help weigh it down. This prevented the mixture from escaping the wells. During one of my tests, the DNA actually went backwards, and I had no idea why until I saw that the positive electrode was at the end of the wells. This all made sense to me now, because I knew that DNA was made of phosphate bases and therefore had a negative charge, ultimately attracting towards the positive electrode. I used a sodium hydrogen carbonate buffer to both make the gels and pour over the gel to carry the electrical current. Initially, to make sure everything worked before I bothered with kiwi fruits, I tested electrophoresis with food dyes. This also worked, but more so showcased the electrophoresis, but not actually what it's capable of. The food dyes already stained because they're a dye, so I only really had to add the glycerin. The dyes then split into bands of red, yellow and blue to show the bands formed because the particles move through at different speeds depending on their size. Again, this showed electrophoresis for what it is, but not what it could do. So then I used DNA and got a fabulous model, as you can see from my photos, and this was an excellent model because of its simplicity and effectiveness in teaching electrophoresis.